This is my batch. I was there in 2009. Incredible year, fantastic. And what I wanted to do is share with you 4 key questions that I reflected upon myself. And this is kind of a takeaway for you guys, so I hope you have your pens and papers ready. And as you listen to this talk, just reflect upon how these questions apply to your life. Do you go to the next slide? So let's play a short video, yeah. Are you living for today or waiting for tomorrow? So I graduated from the London School of Economics. I did an economics degree. A lot of friends were investment bankers. I ended up in a big 4 company doing merger and acquisition tax. I thought that was a sexy thing to do. M&A. I was sitting there and I did my exams, and 2.5 years in, I'm there and feeling a little bit bored. Tax, as you can imagine, can get a bit dry. No offense to anybody using tax, but fantastically, for me, it wasn't as stimulating as I thought. So I had an opportunity to go to India on something called Learning Journey. I spent a week in the development sector. I went to the slums, played with children, learned about women's empowerment, all these really cool things. I thought, wow, this is really incredible. There's an experience that I wanted to share. So imagine the pictures of slums you see. You walk into a slum family. I'm from Birmingham. I'm fairly reasonable background compared to the rest of the world, probably very rich. So you go into slums, a tiny room, the roof's made of like some kind of tarpaulin or whatever that word is, the plastic thing. You go in and you think they're going to be very poor and unhappy. And my experience was the opposite. You walk in and they had these little cups of tea, they had these like snacks they had prepared for us, and they were so hospitable and so happy. And I didn't get it, it didn't make sense. Why do people who don't have very much seem so happy and seem so abundant? And I later found out that these people sacrificed their meals for the next 2 or 3 days so that they could have some nice samosas and snacks for us. And I was really touched by that abundance of generosity. We live in a world where I just upgraded to an iPhone. It took a while, and I was like iPhone 4S, iPhone 5. I ended up with the iPhone 4, which is apparently quite old now. And you're having these very stupid conversations in your head about these things that are very petty, and then these people who had a different value on life, and they were so giving, and that really touched me. And I wanted to come back and explore that more. So I go back into my nice offices in London, working with all these accountants and senior people, and then something didn't fit anymore. And I needed to explore that, and that's what made me want to apply for Indicorps. I come from an Indian background, typical parents. Why in a recession would you want to leave a good job, go and work in a slum? We left India some 15 years ago to escape the poverty and have a nice, good life. And my friends and relatives are like, what the hell are you doing? Why would you want to go and work with poor people in India? So, nevertheless, I did. I left my career in a recession. And I went to India. Next question. What if you fail? What if you succeed? So, I think this has been touched on a little bit with Pramal, but the definition of failure and success, right? Going through our heads right now. Are you a success? Are you a failure? What have you done? The word that comes to mind is expectations. I did the A-levels in math, physics, but it's typical. I'm a bit ashamed of it now. It's typical, very Indian, very nice, stable subject. Did a degree in economics, good university, went to a top big 4 firm. You're on this trajectory of success. Well, that model of success doesn't necessarily work in the development phase. You walk in and you think you can make a difference. You think, yes, I'm smart, I'm intelligent, I can actually make change happen. Yeah. So you go in there and you're like, okay, let me see what I can do. My tiny experience of learning journey, even some of the things that you might touch upon here, the word romantic volunteerism came up. It's nice, you get kids some food. It's really nice. They come and hug you, or you give some like sweets out, give a chalkboard, you get all this love and attention. Look at me on a change maker. That has to be redefined, because when you're there for a year, and even a year is a very short period of time to make change, that was really fast. So my project was training unemployed rural undergraduates. So you have these students, these graduates from villages, who do these degrees in what they call English medium. So they're doing English. They'll get a degree in economics as well, for example, or arts. And they actually find it very difficult to get jobs. Because although it's in English, they can't speak English. They have very low self-esteem. They cannot speak in front of people. They just don't believe in themselves. So there's me trying to. What am I going to talk about? Yeah. So we set up a graduate finishing school. So we take these graduates who are coming from villages, give them 3 months of training in English, soft skills, and how long ago? About 5 minutes. Yeah. But what happened? The challenge that happened for me is I went in with this model of like corporate-esque. Okay, well, what's the problem? What's the solution? How do we get there? And just plowed into it. And I came across a lot of challenges. In fact, I actually changed projects at one point because I felt that NGO didn't have scope to work with the kind of development transformations that we were looking to do. So I invested about 6 or 7 months of my time, spent a lot of time with the students, and then changed projects. Fast forward 4 months on, and I went to a graduation ceremony. They had a collective graduation. And when I was there, I had all these students coming back to me, and they had sort of tears in their eyes. They had like expanded waistlines. They were just overjoyed. And it was that moment that I realized that what was success and what was failure, the way I was looking at it was where I was going wrong. Should we move on? Are you living your values or your to-do list? This is a very important question which I still reflect on today, actually. Connecting to what I just spoke about with the graduate finishing school, when I was living my values, that is when I was having the most level of satisfaction. I would spend late in the evenings, this thing would start at 9 in the morning, we'd have like an assembly, they would have classes, and the evenings they'd be working on their typing skills, their English skills, and I would spend most evenings hanging out with the students and actually coaching them, mentoring them. The process was to get them from sort of not speaking English to have job-worthy skills and actually get them placed. So throughout that process, they all have these own emotional journeys. So I would be spending a lot of time with them as their older brother. I set a bit of a value setting at the start, and one of the contexts with which I wanted to live was to be their older brother. In South India, that's called Anna. So I wanted to be their Anna. And I realized that when I was being that, I was actually making a real impact. There's lots of stories, I won't go into them, but that is where I found myself adding any kind of value. Whereas when I was actually hammering down that to-do list of, right, we need to set up X, Y, Z systems, processes, structures, and when you come across an organization that's very different, that was where the clashes happen, and that wouldn't always work. So that was one of the key lessons from this question for me. Moving on. Okay, this is the final question. What change do you want to see, and are you that change? So you guys are sitting in the Warwick International Development Summit. You're very intelligent already. You care about international affairs. You're already very compassionate people. And giving up 2 days of your time or 3 days of your weekend means that this is important to you. I live in a world where a lot of people complain, especially about India. My family, my friends are like, India's corrupt, Indians are this, that, whatever. I got tired of that. I didn't want to be an armchair critic. I didn't want to sit in my comfortable chair and talk about change, so I committed to spending a year out there. Now, even that is not a big deal. I realized that. So what Indicorps does is kind of like, there's that guy who did that last lecture. Who did that last lecture? No, the last, Randy Posh. Randy Posh's last lecture. He uses this word called head fake. Indicorps, in fact, if any of you spend a year abroad or in service, it's almost like a head fake. You think you're going to go and do service, you think you're going to go and make a difference for a year, what Indicorps actually does is make a difference for your life. Like that 1 year is a training period that transforms the way you think and the contribution you can make in your entire lifetime. And this is what the main point that came from this is that, yes, that period of time that I spent in India, I was getting up and living and breathing the change I wished to see in the world. But if I look at myself today, I'm currently a project manager for an agricultural company, and we make tractors, which has an impact on providing food globally. I travel to India every month, and I'm based out of Stoneleigh and India. So right now, I feel like I'm on the track to actually making a difference, and that's one of the things that I live for. But it's important to consistently reflect that whatever complaints come in your head and whatever you care about, if it's women having a voice, or if it's children not suffering, or if it's the lack of clean water, if it's the environment, take a stand somehow. And even if your path, which I pretty much can guarantee is not going to be a straight one, move forward towards that path. Even if you have to work as a tax consultant to pay the bills, do that. But in the evenings, find time to connect back. And I feel I do that. So they are the 4 key questions that I wanted just to share with you. I don't think there's anything else.
No, you're right, please. Yeah.
So, namaste. My name is Pramal. Feel free to approach me or any of my colleagues, friends, brothers and sisters, whatever you want to call them.